The following is a presentation of William Paterson University Television.
Another very special WP basketball segment. This week, instead of the men with Michael Gilmore, we got senior captain of the women's team, Yakira Rosa, joining us with Marc, Brandt, Anthony Walker, and Joe Monroig. Now, Yakira, we thank you so much for taking the time to be on with us. You know, you've had a great career as a pioneer here. We take a look at your stats on your career, but you know, what is the experience you've had on the team? What's different about this season? Like, just talking about your career as a whole.
I've definitely had a lot of different experiences at William Paterson, good and bad, but that kind of comes with being a college athlete in general. I will say that this season we're coming a lot different than seasons in the past. We're starting off really strong, a lot of wins under our belt, defending our home court. We kind of have different intensity now than we did in the past. So.
You've really, something that I've really known or noticed from watching you play over the past couple of years, you step up in the big moments. You know, it's a big regular season game, you have a great performance. In an NJAC playoff game, NJAC tournament game, you have a great performance. Can you speak to that a little bit about what really, because obviously you have great seasons no matter what, but you really take it to that next level in the playoffs. Can you speak to that a little bit?
For me, like, intensity and energy is like really, really, really important for my game. Right now, or just in general, I usually don't care much about stats. For me, I like to just be that person that's like a spark plug. Like, when I'm on the floor and you're playing with me, we're all going to radiate the same energy and we're all going to feel the same way. So I will just say that when it comes to playoff situations, you know, I have experience, which is different than a lot of girls on my team since we're a little bit younger this year. So I'm able to, like, kind of figure it out, put some puzzle pieces together that we might have to figure out and, you know, pull out a win if we have to.
You know, you started 55 to 58 of your career games here at William Paterson. You know, you're one of the longer tenured players here at the university. As the captain yourself, how do you know, this is a young team, how you mentioned, how do you keep the young players on the team motivated? How do you, put their minds right going into every single game and make them better as when you leave eventually from here?
Well, when I was a freshman, I didn't really understand like what the NJAC was or what it meant to win an NJAC. So I know that when I'm dealing with the freshmen, it's a lot of new, I guess, feelings that they haven't experienced before. So it's kind of hard to just say, okay, we want to win an NJAC and just get them on the same page, but that comes with intensity. Like I said before, it starts at practice, so even during preseason, we always had like that killer instinct. You know, you want to win no matter if it's a drill against your teammates or whether you're playing Ramapo, NJCU, Montclair, Rowan, those big schools in our NJAC. So I try to just show them and keep that culture in practice, so when we go to games, it's like, it's whatever, it's just another basketball game for us, because there really shouldn't be a drop-off.
Yeah, you know, we saw up on there on your stats, you average almost 30 minutes per game. You're kind of like the Iron Woman of the women's team in terms of basketball. You always find a way to stay on the court no matter what. Is that something that you really pride yourself on?
Yeah, I try not to, like, basketball is very mental and physical, so I try to just, as much as, like, any adversity that I'm facing, I try to get through that, just because I know I appreciate being on the floor. I like to play a lot, but at the same time, like, when I know that my team needs a leader or a floor general, that's where I need to step up, and I know that, like, sometimes we'll kind of fall loose without me on the floor, so I try to do everything in my power to stay on at all times.
Yeah, no, you guys just picked up a big victory where you've also played a lot of minutes against Montclair State, big-time rivalry. Marc's got some highlights of the game to walk us through.
Yeah, you know, we'll take a look at that. A 60-49 win, very impressive game there. And we'll take a look at the highlights here. You know, very impressive game here. You know, we're going to start off with Renee Wells hitting a three-pointer from about the top of the key. Then a really nice floater there from Brianna Smith. Then another shot from Brianna, top of the key. Then we go to the three-pointer out there, Renee Wells again from the corner. Then we're going to transition, just an absolute offensive explosion. There you go, there's a three-pointer for you, Yakira. And then we're going to go right here, fast break, Brianna Smith with a nice layup there, and then a nice little celebration for a big win over Montclair State. So what was kind of the thought process during that game?
Well, Montclair is always really hard going into mentally. Last year we actually went 1-1 with them regular season, and we ended up going 1-1, splitting it. So every time before Montclair, it's a big preparation. We're always really just focused on that game. We spend a lot of our weeks at practice worrying about great players like Nikki Carter that we see. We try to replicate as much as we can during practice, just replicate them, which is very hard because they're a well-rounded team in a lot of different aspects. But our mental preparation was just defense. Defense is what's going to win games, and I feel like that's something that my coach has been emphasizing the entire season. So, yeah, we just And I think defensively we did pretty well for the most part. So.
Yeah, Pioneers went into the half in that game. They were down 20-17, and you guys really came out with like ball fire in the second half. You guys scored 43 points in the second half, dwarfed that first half not margin, and that's something that we've seen the Pioneers do a lot. Is really be able to adjust, regroup, strive in the second half. What has Coach Monahan really done for you guys as a team to really get you guys ready to play and get you guys to make those adjustments?
So I think everyone knows that we're really a second half team. You've definitely seen some of our best games come from the second half rather than the first half. We don't really understand why that happens, but most of the time, Coach at halftime or even at practice, if our intensity level is low, she will give us like a good pep talk to us, be like, come on guys, you gotta wake up, like it's now or never. And for some reason, just Coach saying that just kicks us into gear and we go on our roll and we just kind of start doing that thing.
You mentioned defense, right? Take a look at that NJCU, right? You stopped Demarius Rodriguez, right? Hurt the top scorer on their team. You stopped Nicky Carter on MSU. Defense, right? Defense trend that transition to offense. How about the turnover points? 16 points off turnovers against MSU. What's that mindset like? How does it feel as a team to, from the defensive standpoint, transition that into points on the offensive end? How crucial is that when you guys are, in that period of the game? How important is that for you guys?
I think it's very important, and I think with players like Victoria Palladino, who really knows how to push the ball, and she gets those steals, she gets those touches, so it's really easy to just run off of that energy all the time. Transition points are also the easy points. Sometimes you might struggle with a half-court set. Sometimes, they might overplay some things, or, in the first half you saw we were struggling a little bit with ball movement, things like that. So that's kind of where our defense kind of needs to translate into that transition offense, and we have to capitalize on those opportunities.
Yeah, no, you mentioned Victoria Palladino. You, Victoria, Jade, and Bree, that backcourt especially. You guys, we see every game, you guys diving for loose balls, stealing, running the break. You guys are so just active on defensive end, scrappy. Like, is that something you guys communicate amongst yourselves? Coach Monahan emphasizes it. You just all embrace it collectively.
Well, I will say that Victoria, she really brought that intensity to our team last year. It started in practice, and it's just that fire. We want who wants it more, and I think that Bree Smith, me, Jade, Victoria, we all have that killer instinct when it comes to the game. It's like, no, we're here to do a job and we're going to get it done. No one's getting in our way. And we all have that mentality. And like I said, that starts at practice as well.
Yeah, no, your team mentality's definitely been big to this point in the season. Anthony's going to take a look at their stats for you guys on the season. Anthony, talk us through it.
Yeah, Pioneers are off to a great start. They're 6-2, as we know. We're actually going to take a look at their stats right here on the season. And ultimately, what it comes down to me, you look at their points per game, a 65.5, opponent points per game 59, field goal percentage about 380, three-point percentage 325, and points off turnovers a very good margin of 14.4. Opponents are only shooting 33% or 34% against the Pioneers, which kind of speaks to how good the defense has been with Victoria Palladino, with Yakira Rosa. But someone I want to focus on who's been really, really good this year, Brianna Smith. She scored 36 points in the game against Rome. She had a great game, and she's really taken a huge leap, in my opinion. She's really stepped up. What have you seen from her this year?
So I actually have had the opportunity to play with Bree Smith since I was young. We've been playing together since we were in the 5th grade. She's always been an offensive threat. She's always been that type of player that you did not want to see on the floor. You never want to be on the opposite end of Bree Smith. But I will say that losing Bree Brooks last year, who was what anyone would consider the glue to our program, we needed someone to step up in the scoring category, which we've seen Bree Smith have great games last year too against NJCU. She had, I think, 28 or something like that. Yeah. But now she kind of has that, she kind of took our team on her back and said, no, well, I'm gonna contribute everything that I can, and the scoring has been her strong suit this season.
When you take a look at the offense this year, you especially, Brianna Smith, and also Cabezas, you guys are always getting to the free throw line. How crucial, how important is that piece of the game, getting to the free throw lines? Remember, free throw is 3 points, right? You guys really drive into the lane hard on the offensive unit. How important is that getting to the free throw line and getting those points to extending leads and difference makers, really?
Well, it's very important that we capitalize on those opportunities to get those free points, because there's a lot of times where we might be missing a lot of foul shots. We struggled with that a little bit last season, which we had that chip on our shoulder this year. There's definitely been games where if you pull up the stats, if you look how many free throws we missed, we lost by the same amount in the end of the game. So we just realized how important they really are. Also, it's one thing as much as the scoring points, but it's also getting the other team into foul trouble as well. So when we have Justina attacking on some important centers, or if we can get, like in Kane, I got to the foul line I think 10 times or something like that. If we're able to do those on players like Shannon McCoy or Damaris Rodriguez or even Lainey Fox in the NJCU game, we picked up 4 very early. As long as we're able to do those things, it helps us in the long run, and it opens up the floor for us offensively and defensively as well.
Yeah, we talked a lot about scoring, turnovers, defense in general, but something that's really stood out for this women's team is the rebounding. I really think that you see a lot of rebound, and games are won on the glass. So is that something that has really been emphasized for you guys this season?
I think we have a big inside presence this year. I mean, Justina Cabezas, who can even touch that girl? She's on fire. And Renee, too, with some size and height. I think that Renee Wells is doing a great job in her situation, especially as a freshman right now. She's holding her own in there. So rebounding is huge. It's almost, if you look at our stats as well, our guards are putting up some numbers in the rebounding category. So I think as long as we all crash the boards and we make sure that they get one opportunity to score and we get multiple, everything should be all right.
You mentioned Justina. She's obviously been such a big part of the team for a number of years now, scoring, rebound, everything. But you guys have kind of that undeniable chemistry that we've all seen on the court. I know you guys are like good friends off the court as well. How fun is it to play with her and like experience games with her and all the practice and everything you've been through together, and how does that resemble on the court as well?
She's been my best friend since freshman year, so I will say that it is the most fun being able to play with her, especially for her talent as well. I think every point guard will say that they love having a meaty big in there that will beat people up if she has to. I can never complain about that as a point guard. So it's been fun, and and I think as a whole with the team, last year we really emphasized chemistry and getting close. So I want to say that we're all pretty close, and it's just like we're playing with our best friends out there. So.
And, it's been really fun to see the chemistry of all you guys, freshmen, seniors, everything. It's resonated to a lot of wins to start the season. So, Joe, I'll throw it over to you now. For the women's team, what do you think is their biggest win to the season?
The NJAC, there's a lot of teams, right? Every game's important in the NJAC, especially in conference play. But there's one team I had to choose from. It's definitely Montclair State University. That team is right down 46. It's been William Paterson rivals for many, many history. But beating a team like MSU, setting the tone, because eventually you have to play them again at their court, but winning at home, setting the tone against them, it feels good. To beat your rival, to pound on them, beat them in all aspects of the game, offense, defense, turnovers, free throws, to win as a complete team, and for you specifically and for the rest of the team, I think personally, the way how I see it, it's one of the better wins. It's one of my top wins because it's just a feel-good feeling against your rival.
Marc?
For me, I'm going to go with another NJAC game, one of 3 NJAC wins for them, Rowan. You go to Rowan, it's a very impressive team victory, everything clicking well, and, that's a game that you need to win. NJAC games are super important, conference play is super important, so going to Rowan and beating them is a great win for this women's basketball team.
Making a clean sweep. I'm going to take the other NJAC game, the game against NJCU. They're a great team. NJCU was a very good team, and the Pioneers absolutely dissect them in that game. Pioneers held NJCU, or they think their highest scoring player only had 14 points. Pioneers had 4 players break the 10-point barrier, really moved the ball well, really high on the assist totals, really, really good ball movement from the Pioneers, and that's ultimately the big driving force for them to get that win.
Yeah, I'm going to take it over to Drew. I had the pleasure of calling the game on the radio station. That big-time comeback. Drew's a very good team, as you know. To be able to make that statement at home, come back, show the resilience like the second half that you talked about, that really stood out to me, and the rec center was popping live, so it was really fun to see. But what win to you stood out the most?
I love all of them because I like to win. I'm not going to complain about any. But I would say probably Rowan was the most fun to be a part of, and Drew. I think that Drew said a lot about our team because, even it's easy for people to say that, they enjoy a win where they're playing, but, I got into foul trouble early, and it was a better feeling for me to see that my team could step up and have my back than it was for me to be on the floor. But I think Rowan was definitely one of my top 5, though, because, we never beat Rowan in, my history here at William Paterson, so it's good to, change the history and the pattern of things.
We definitely want to see you guys run the table and win an NJAC, bring it home this year to William Paterson. It'll be a lot of fun to see. We're all rooting for you on the desk. We thank you so much for coming on the set. But we also say a special thank you to Matt Tadino and Heather Brocious for allowing Yakira to be here, and for another thank you to Yakira for taking the time out of her day. And we hope to see some more victories for William Paterson women's and men's basketball going forward. But we're going to take things over now to Anthony and the MLB crew as the MLB offseason is popping. Keep it locked here on WPTV.